Добар ден. Гостин во неделното интервју на Радио Слободна Европа е главниот економист на Светска банка за Европа и Централна Азија, господинот Индермит Гил. Господине Гил, на самиот почеток, како би ја оцениле македонската економија во овој момент?
It's a good question. I should tell you that I've only been in Macedonia 3 days, and I'm not going to give you an expert assessment of the Macedonian economy. But what I can say is that what Macedonia has done very well is deal with the crisis in a way that has kept stability in the economy. And I think there are three factors that are actually responsible for this. The first one is I think that the central bank has done very well in keeping monetary and fiscal policy and financial policies on an even keel. The second is that the Ministry of Finance has done very well in keeping the fiscal balances good. And so, the third one is that what Macedonia has done is that despite the crisis, they have actually continued to improve the business climate and so on.
Иако велите дека Македонија добро ги поднела последиците од светската економска криза, сепак тие се почувствува, ако не друго барем и во однос на невработеноста во земјава која што бележи висока стапка. Постои ли стратегија за да се надминат ризиците кои што со себе ги носи светската економска криза?
Well, actually, I'd like to change your question around a little bit because it turns out that the high unemployment rates that you see in Macedonia were things that you saw before the crisis as well, things that you saw during the crisis and things that you still see. So actually it's not as much of an issue related to the crisis as it is a structural rigidity or a structural weakness in the Macedonian economy, and it has to be treated that way. I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that even during the years in which Macedonia did reasonably well in terms of growth, we didn't see a fall in unemployment rates. Even in those years, we didn't actually see Macedonian growth rates reach even the levels of what we saw in the rest of Central and Eastern Europe. So in fact, the big weakness, I think, in terms of Macedonian economy, is one of growth, right? And I think that the questions that you ask are good ones in the sense that, because of such a high, that we have a really high unemployment rate in the economy, how does one deal with this? And one deals with this by the same kind of reforms that will actually speed up growth. And basically, if I had to identify one thing which is very, very important for the Macedonian economy, for the Macedonian policymakers, I would actually say that one has to make education a much, much higher priority.
Неодамна ваша колешка од Светската банка изјави дека на земјава ќе бидат потребни најмалку 80 години за да го достигне европскиот економски стандард. Што е потребно за да се постигне значаен економски раст во една земја?
Well, actually, I would probably disagree with my colleague because I think it actually depends on what Macedonia does. I think a lot of this is something that Macedonia can actually affect. When we looked at the experience of countries that joined the European Union, we find that actually they converge very, very quickly to high income levels. Not all of them have actually reached those high income levels, but they've made very, very quick progress. I'm talking about Bulgaria, Romania, I'm talking about Poland, others, and so on. I think in terms of expectations, I think it really depends a lot on what Macedonia does, and I think what Macedonia has to do is to integrate with the European economy. And basically what I mean by that is to actually put in place some of the same institutions that you see in the European Union, put in place the infrastructure that is required for Macedonian entrepreneurs to actually take advantage of the big market that is very close by, and then to think very, very clearly about how to use the money that one still has in order to actually encourage some activities that show high potential. And I think that these are things that even a smaller country like Macedonia can learn from. And if one does that, and if one does it well, you don't have to wait 80 years. You probably don't have to wait 20 years to actually do this.
Господине Гил, дали зголемената цена на храната и на нафтените деривати влијаат врз економскиот раст?
I think that they do. I think that these are things that not only affect the general economy, they also affect the poor, and they also affect the politics. So they have to be managed very, very carefully. But these are not things that Macedonia is alone in dealing with. These are things that are actually quite general across the world. So I think the real issue is not to do something, not to do something drastic about it, and I don't think that there's any danger of that. Yeah. But it has to be managed well. It has to be managed carefully, because it basically goes down to this whole question about trying to keep inflation rates low. When inflation rates are high, they tend to create a very unstable atmosphere. They also tend to hurt the poor much more.
Господине Гил, каква е улогата на банкарскиот сектор во посткризните општества?
Well, the banking sector is a very important, it has a very important function, because what the first thing is that the banking sector should not add to the instability. And I think that the kind of policies that have been followed by the Macedonian Central Bank, so far have kept the banking sector as stable. Right? The second thing that that banks have to do is to start providing credit when there is a demand for the credit. Right? And I think that we haven't yet seen that in the case of Macedonia to a full extent, even though some people think that we're starting to see some of the signs of increased credit demand. But finance is the lifeblood of all business. You can't do actually business without finance. So I think it's a hugely important one. In bad times, finance can actually add to the instability. In good times, good finance is needed for growth. To take advantage of growth opportunities elsewhere, one would require a good financial sector.
Ако добро ве разбрав, задоволни сте од бизнис климата во земјава. Сепак, дали евентуално членство на Македонија во Европската Унија и во НАТО алијансата би придонело за подобрување на бизнис климата и за привлекување на бран странски инвестиции?
Okay, let me answer that question first by telling you that I did say that there have been lots of improvements in the business climate in terms of what is required to do business and so on. But the indicators that we use are often things that look at what are the regulations on the books, right? What has been written in the law, in a sense. And that's very important, because what is written in the books is very important, but it's not enough. You actually have to then actually implement this. And I think that Macedonia has made huge steps in terms of actually changing what is on the books. Now it has to actually follow that up by implementing many of those things, right? And already that is happening. For example, in the case of the customs agency, those changes have been implemented. In some other cases, they haven't been implemented. So the first thing I want to do is clarify that what has been the progress made. There has been a lot of progress made, but there's a lot of progress still to be made. On your second question about, if there was a political union as well, it would be better for the country or not. And I think that a more useful, a more urgent question is to say, how does one stay on that path? How does one stay on a path of greater integration with the European Union? I think as long as Macedonia stays on that track, I think it'll start to get many of the benefits that it would get. As long as Macedonia keeps improving the institutions and so on, it'll actually find that when that political union ultimately comes, it'll be a very easy one, and one can take even more advantage of that.
Светската банка е присутна во земјава скоро од нејзиното самостојување како еден од најголемите финансиски поддржувачи на македонската економија. Во тој контекст, господине Гил, колку сте задоволни од резултатите на проектите за кои што давате пари?
We are actually never satisfied with the things that we do. We would like to do more. We'd like to do things better, and so on. And I think that what we have got now is that we have a really good relationship with the government, and we feel that we can actually build on this relationship to help Macedonia get excellent results. But we are not satisfied with our own performance ever. If we were, you should be worried.
Господине Гил, ви благодарам за разговорот.
Thank you very much.
Гледавте уште едно неделно интервју на Радио Слободна Европа. Довидување за 7 дена.